Hello everyone, this is Insta here. Alright, welcome to the official start of my Game of Thrones Season 9 creation. This, for all those who are new, for those who haven't seen my teaser trailer or my reveal video of Season 9, this will be the continuation of my Game of Thrones Season 8 rewrite. So if you haven't seen my rewrite, I strongly suggest that you go over to that to my playlist I've made. 10 videos. Every video is one episode. I strongly suggest that you see those first, because this season actually is a direct continuation of that. So without further ado, here we are right now, episode 1, season 9. I've simply called Starkgaryen. Alright, it's an episode. It will take about 55 minutes. And well, before we start, I suggest there's a kind of a small prologue actually that explains how the things are going right now. It pretty much is set 1 year after the events of season 8. House Starkgaryen stands as a symbol of unity and inspiration. It dominates the Seven Kingdoms, ruled by both Daenerys in the south and Jon in the north. The two most powerful allies of House Starkgaryen are House Baratheon, led by Gendry Baratheon, and House Greyjoy, led by Theon Greyjoy, who is also the commander of the royal fleet of House Starkgaryen. Months after the reign of Queen Daenerys had started, however, rebellions started to occur. People who were against the idea of a foreign queen coming to rule over them. So, under the command of Jaime, Master of War, and Brienne, commander of Daenerys' armies, Daenerys has sent a large part of her forces to the Reach, where the rebellions form a stand against her. And this is where our episode 1 of season 9 of Game of Thrones starts off. The Reach. Brienne walks around a field waiting for a scouting group to return. Suddenly, a group of riders appear from the woods, led by Podrick. He informs her that he has seen a large force of 1,000 men charging this way. Brienne mounts her horse, and they all ride off to their military camp. As they arrive, we see a huge camp with thousands of men and women who are preparing for battle. A large trench has been dug, several catapults are installed, and a large perimeter has been set up for defense. Brienne and Podrick go to the main tent, where we see Jaime and some other commanders discussing their plan of attack. Brienne informs them about the army that is approaching, and they know a battle is imminent. Brienne orders everyone to get to their positions. She and Jaime wish each other good luck, right before Jaime goes to his battalion of men. The rebellion army appears on top of the horizon as they come out of the woods. Podrick orders the catapults to be armed as Brienne orders her archers to stand by. The rebels come charging at the camp as Brienne orders the archers to fire, while Podrick orders the catapults to launch their projectiles. A group of unsullied soldiers are also present who form the front line, and they keep the rebels away from them by using their long spears and shields. During this whole scene, we really get to see how the army of House Starkgaryen has perfected its tactics, and we get to witness why it has its deadly and efficient reputation. When the rebels are successfully being held at a distance, thanks to the Unsullied, Brienne then comes charging from the side with several other riders. The rebels are trapped and are forced to retreat. As a large portion retreats, they are suddenly ambushed by Jaime and other soldiers who had flanked them. The rebels, being completely surrounded, have no choice but to surrender. The battle is won. That night, there is a celebration held in the camp. Brienne and Podrick have a fun chat while having a drink. After a while, Podrick seems to get some attention from several female soldiers and goes to talk with them. Jaime then joins Brienne and they have a conversation about their campaign. Throughout the conversation, however, it slightly appears that they both have affection for each other, but they don't go through with it. Next morning, a raven arrives from King's Landing. It appears that Queen Daenerys has received the news about her victory, and that she will be coming over to the camp later. Jaime goes to talk with the prisoners from the battle, asking them who their leader is and where they have made their camp. None of the prisoners answer, however. Everything is made ready for the arrival of Daenerys. Brienne looks for Podrick and eventually finds him in his tent sleeping with 2 other girls. He immediately jumps into action as Brienne wakes him up with a loud volume. Brienne, Jaime, Podrick, and all of the troops wade across the camp. Suddenly, they hear sound coming from the distance. A large shadow covers the entire camp as Daenerys enters the scene on the back of Drogon. She lands as Drogon roars a mighty roar, intimidating all the prisoners. As Daenerys steps off Drogon, everyone kneels for her. Daenerys gives a big speech for all of her troops, congratulating them for their good work and accomplishments, and that House Starkgaryen will forever be grateful. She's taken to the main tent, where Brienne, Jaime, and some other commanders inform her about the situation. It's brought up, however, that within a month, a large celebration will be held in King's Landing, celebrating the 1-year existence of House Starkgaryen. All lords and noblemen of the great houses will be there. Daenerys wants Brienne to be present since she is the commander of her land armies. Brienne understands this, but since the war against the rebels isn't over, she feels like she can't leave the Reach right now. Jaime eventually suggests that he takes over command of the army of Daenerys so that Brienne can go to King's Landing after all. This offer is eventually accepted, and Brienne goes to her tent to pack her things for the trip back. Jaime visits her and wishes her a safe trip. Since several soldiers will go along with her, plus Daenerys will be flying overhead with Drogon, she will be perfectly safe. Sometime later, Brienne departs for King's Landing with a large escort. Daenerys climbs onto Drogon, who gives one last roar as all of the men cheer for her. Jaime and Podrick stay behind in charge of the troops. In Winterfell, little Sam is playing hide and seek with some other children around the castle. While hiding, he is found by Jon, who catches him and takes him to the maester so he can study a bit. Jon walks around the castle and talks with several of his men about the state of affairs. News has reached them about the celebration at King's Landing. Jon, of course, is obliged to go and orders his men to get ready to travel to King's Landing within 2 days. Afterwards, he goes down to the crypts where he lights some candles for the graves of Ned, Lyanna, Sansa, Arya, Bran, and Rickon. The 1-year anniversary of House Starkgaryen also means that it pretty much is 1 year ago that he almost lost his entire family. Jon talks a bit with the spirits of Ned, Lyanna, Sansa, Arya, Bran, and Rickon. That night, Jon puts little Sam in bed and tells him a tale about the great man Samwell Tarly and his adventures. They both have a sweet father-son moment. Jon, of course, fully realizes that he isn't little Sam's real father, but he feels like he must fill in that role as best he can. Several days later, Brienne and her escort arrive in King's Landing. They march through the streets who are flourishing with the civilians going on about their daily lives and cheering for Brienne and her troops. Daenerys flies overhead on Drogon and lands in the courtyard of the Red Keep. Above the gate to the Red Keep is a giant dragon's head and wolf's head carved in stone, looking to each other, symbolizing the unity between Stark and Targaryen. Brienne enters the courtyard and is met by Tyrion, Varys, Missandei, and several others. Brienne is taken to her chambers by a servant. Daenerys walks with Varys and Tyrion to the council room as they inform her that all the invitations have been sent several days ago and that all the preparations are being made for the feast. Daenerys asks if they have heard anything from Jon, but Tyrion and Varys respond negatively. Daenerys meets the members of the Civil Council in the council room where they all talk about the state of affairs. She tells them about the good news about winning the first few battles against the rebels, and that victory is within their grasp. The city is prospering and all of the supplies for the celebration are on the way. At Storm's End, a raven is received and brought to Gendry, who sits in the throne room. It appears to be the official invitation to the celebration of the 1st-year anniversary of House Starkgaryen in King's Landing. Gendry, of course, complies and informs his men that they will depart the next day. Suddenly, a strange young man arrives at the castle gates and asks entry. After realizing that the man is unarmed and starving, he is let in by the guards. He asks if he can see Gendry, but this, of course, is refused. Gendry is informed about the man and he wants to see him. After eating some food in the kitchen, the man is taken to the throne room where he is introduced to Gendry. After a short introduction, the man says that his name is Edric Storm, bastard of the late Robert Baratheon, thus making him Gendry's half-brother. This shocks Gendry, and 2 of them have intense stare-down. All right, that was episode 1 of season 9 of course, my personal season 9 of Game of Thrones. Episode 1, Starkgaryen. It kind of really is kind of an intro episode. You know, it's the episode. It takes place 1 year after my season 8 ended, and the episode really is just to check out how things are going. You know how Starkgaryen is being ruled, how the armies mobilize, how the people live. Of course, we are introduced to nearly all of our characters again. You know, it actually starts off kind of small with Brienne and Jaime, and it builds further towards them. Daenerys only makes her entrance when I think you're sort of about 20 minutes in the episode, and Jon only makes his entrance even later. So you know, it starts off with with the smaller characters, Brienne, Jaime, Podrick, and it immediately starts off with a battle. You know, it's a battle where we really see how the army of House Starkgaryen, acts and handles. There are still some unsullied soldiers left, although not that many. And it's all kind of, introducing. Not really that much is going on. I do have to say, my season 9, it definitely will be on a slower pace than my season 8, but I think that was to be expected because this is really the start of a new story, while season 8 you have the benefit because season 8 of course was closure, so you have the benefits of doing everything fast paced, to do every episode like a big payoff of some kind. Season 9, it's a new story, so the first couple of episodes will be more slow paced, such as this one, but then again, you really get to see how the people prosper, how Daenerys rules as queen, how Jon rules in the north, and you also find out that within a month this big celebration will happen in King's Landing, about the 1 year anniversary of House Starkgaryen, and that everyone is invited. So it kind of builds up to that, but apart from that, that pretty much is all that really happens. But of course, it ends with a cliffhanger. Gendry Baratheon, who receives a young man who goes by the name of Edric Storm, and who claims to be Gendry's half brother. Now, this one, kind of a fun fact. I actually did some research on characters who are in the books but not in the show, and it appeared to be that this character named Edric Storm actually resembles Gendry from the show. Only in the books he goes by the name of Edric Storm. So I don't know. So I don't know. I thought it would be a nice idea to also introduce like a second character, Edric Storm, who is related to Robert Baratheon, and of course also to Gendry, and to kind of play a little bit around there. Of course, this episode ends with a cliffhanger. Edric introduces himself as Gendry's half brother, also bastard of Robert Baratheon. Of course, this shocks Gendry, and this ends also like with this stare down the two have. Alright, guys. That was episode 1 of season 9, Starkgaryen. I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for the episode 2. See ya.